Hi, Andy.
Hi,
Welcome to Healthtech with Purpose.
thank you. It's good to be here.
Awesome. So, when did you land in Chicago and how's HIMSS overall?
I love Chicago. I lived here a long time ago, and it's a great city, and the weather's beautiful today.
Yeah,
So I was here yesterday and had dinner last night, and then been on the floor today and meeting with you guys, and then
awesome.
presentation tonight, and then move on tomorrow back home.
Great, great. So, Andy, we would like to know about your experience and a little bit more about your background before we move ahead.
Hmm. Well, I'm a second generation hospital administrator. Both my folks were in hospital administration, so I grew up around the table with it. And then I did a few entrepreneurial things in strategy. And then around 2000, I got into healthcare IT because there were a lot of investments happening with EMRs. And so I've been in healthcare IT with Cerner, Memorial Hermann, and now HCA since 2001.
Wow.
And yeah, it's been a long time. I know a lot of the vendors in that building.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah. So, a very interesting background and, great accomplishment so far. So, thank you for your time today.
You're welcome. I
Yeah.
also teach digital health and artificial intelligence and data science at the University of Denver.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
so
amazing.
and I just started a virtual care class with them as well for
That's nice.
nurses and managers to be. That's a
Yeah.
big focus of ours. We'll
Yeah, and
talk
that's the
about.
need of the day.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it
yeah.
is.
Awesome. So, I would like to know a little bit more about the Green CIO initiative
Hmm.
before we talk more about HCA and what you guys are doing
Sure.
there. So, yeah, what's
Oh,
Green CIO all
well,
about?
thank you. Well, I'm wearing the jacket.
Yeah.
It's greencio.org. It's a nonprofit I
Mhm.
started a couple years ago, and it's to get IT leaders and healthcare IT leaders engaged in reducing the carbon emissions on our planet, and particularly in the United States. Healthcare is 20% of the economy, 4 trillion a year, and we produce 10% of the emissions, and a lot of that comes from hospitals. And so, on my website, greencio.org, and it's nonprofit. I'm not a vendor selling you anything. I founded that to get the word out. So, like in discussions like this, and I've done lots of presentations this year. And I could tell you more about it, but there's some action items on the website and ROIs, and I'm happy to talk to you about that too. But that's the vision.
Great. That's an amazing vision, and it's a different take on what is happening on the healthcare side, and I think it's much needed. So,
Yeah.
thank you for that initiative.
You're welcome. I
Yeah.
think this is very similar. The consulting firm I worked for in 2000 built a strategic plan that created HIMSS to
Yeah.
be what it is today. And so, if you think 23 years from now, I believe there will be a HIMSS-like equivalent for carbon activities,
Yep.
carbon reduction activities. And there's a lot of technology involved in that.
Yeah.
And so it is just like the year 2000, no one would have imagined a conference like this every year. We are at that point within carbon reduction, and it's going to be big. And there's a lot of opportunity at no cost as well.
Yeah, yeah. And as you mentioned, it's a non-profit, so
Hmm.
all for the good cause.
Yeah, that's right. I'm
Yeah,
just getting the word out, doing presentations
yeah.
and stuff like this. So thank you.
Amazing, amazing. Andy, tell us more about HCA
Yeah.
and your role there, and what are the big plans?
Hmm. So ACA is a publicly traded community hospital system based out of Nashville. There's 182 hospitals from Alaska to California to Texas to Florida to New Hampshire. And it's big.
Yeah.
And it's about 70 billion a year in revenue. My role is I'm work with the hospitals in Denver and Wichita, Kansas,
Okay.
and there are 15 people like me in HCA. We each have different regions. Generally, we all go have there's corporate strategies, which I could tell you about, and then our divisions do unique things as well.
Okay. So yeah. So what are some of these strategies that you are
Yeah,
working on, just at a
yeah,
high level, if you
yeah,
could share? Yeah.
yeah, sure. Well, patient engagement's very big. I think it's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah.
I think digital health. I think patient engagement from a hospital and clinic side text messages, creating an Amazon-like experience. That Amazon's basically defined that. And we send messages, we build applications like that. We have a personal health record. We did, alerts during COVID and the pandemic. And you can view your record. And so there's some basic capability there. I think outside of the health systems, there's a lot of startups in digital health that are looking at the consumer or me, you and me as patients, and targeting our symptoms. So I was talking to a company recently that is looking at headaches, because a health system can see me as a patient who's been admitted for a head analysis, right? But I'm just a guy who's got a headache today. And it's probably because I've been busy. And so I think digital health is connecting to humans. Let's start with them as we are humans. We are consumers. We are patients. And I think that's going to be huge, because we see ourselves as having a symptom, and we want to fix and we want to interact. And I think that's big. The other thing with the movement of the shortage of nurses and doctors, I think, just real briefly, pre-pandemic, there was a shortage, but it was manageable, because it was, let's say, 99%. We were short 1%. We needed 100%. We had 99. But with the pandemic and the retirements, I think let's say it's reduced to 96%, 95. So that 5% is real. And so the shortage just got bigger. So one way that we've been focusing in Denver is we build a virtual care center. We have nurses that are doing admissions and discharges remotely in our hospitals.
That's nice.
Doing education remotely when they're discharged. We have nurses who are watching patients across hospitals to see when they're decompensating or not doing well. We just started a remote patient monitoring pilot as well with a company called Vital Connect. And then we also have centralized telemetry. And so that and we have virtual sitters, patients who need someone to watch, make sure they don't fall out of bed. So that went from basically 0 FTEs 2 years ago to now that whole probably has about 130, 140
That's great.
FTEs.
Within 2 years?
And it's because nurses are responding to it. We have a lot of young nurses. There's a shortage of nursing education, and so nurses want help. And I think one of the things that I've learned as a technologist is nurses do not want someone calling you up and saying, how can I help you today? They want to know that you know what their load is, what patients need to be prioritized, who's going to be discharged, and virtual care can do those things. It's like a virtual charge nurse. And I've talked to a lot of health systems, and I think that's going to be huge. And it solves a labor problem. And I would say, lastly, in healthcare, technology has not allowed labor productivity to increase. And if you look at other technologies in consumer space, technology generally increases productivity. But I finally think with the pandemic and these virtual technologies and hospital at home, remote patient monitoring, we're going to see improvement in productivity, which will make people happier and make hospitals more profitable, because the economics say if you increase productivity, you increase your profitability. So I think we're right there.
Awesome. And I think that's a big problem, as you mentioned, right? Because I've been talking to a lot of people, especially on the provider side, and having the right set of skilled people, nurse, clinicians, is a big challenge, right? So tell us a little bit more about the training, the upskilling, and the whole coaching side that you mentioned that you're also kind of looking at, right?
Well, first let me just say that as somebody who works with a lot of engineers that are in the US and outside and in India, I think one of the great benefits of capitalism is the ability to move money across markets. And there are super talented engineers and requirements analysts in India, as you know, and your firm has that. And it's amazing opportunity to go quick. Be cost effective, and that's a big focus for me personally. I'm doing things and then also for our company, and so it's been a nice blend. And I think there's a speed to market that needs to happen when you have that. It can be a combination of in U.S. and outsourced, working together as a team. Scrum calls at 6 a.m. I did that this morning. So, it's a great opportunity. As far as scaling, HCA is going into the Google Cloud. That was publicly announced 2 years ago. We're adopting a new EMR from Meditech, their next version of EMR. There's going to be hundreds of small projects that come out of that, interface work, integration work, building new apps, doing reports. And so that's going to be massive scale for 180 hospitals.
Yeah.
So lots of opportunity there. And then we're taking our legacy systems. There's no big public cloud movement for that, but optimizing legacy systems, refreshing servers, maintaining scale, really. I would say in conclusion, hospitals at HCA size, but any big hospital system has scale already.
Yeah.
And so how do you support that at a cost-effective rate so that you can continue your mission? And that's going to be a big, big deal for the next few years, I bet.
Great. These are some great insights. Thank you for sharing those. And so, when we talk about tech, right, what are your thoughts on the interoperability overall? Because so interoperability has been talked about much lately. So what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, one of my friends who's an interoperability guru, Scott Stewie, is standing right over there. He worked at Cerner with me. It's a challenge in healthcare because of all the, I've, in my little group of 10 hospitals, 12, it depends how you count them, and then we've got a whole range of the mountain area. We've got, 12 freestanding EDs and urgent care centers. So I think that the term number of hospitals doesn't really speak anymore to how we've got 22 ambulatory surgery centers. So I mean, there's lots. There's 700 physicians we employ. I think there's 70 clinics.
It's a big org overall. Yeah.
There's scale there.
Yep.
And so those systems are all different. And they don't talk to each other. And I think generally, and I'm not an expert in this, but HL7 has been the standard. That's like a fire hose, as you know. And now we need to go to FHIR.
Yeah.
Healthcare moves slow, and I'm a critic of that. I think we have an opportunity to move faster.
Yep.
And FHIR's been out there for a while.
Yep.
But we need to really punch it, and we need to get to discrete data. I mean, if I can use my iPhone to pay for my CTA ticket to get here from the airport, we got to be able to. That's interoperability.
Yeah.
That's
a
what we
very
need.
nice example.
I mean, come on, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So we need investment there, and it's just going to be a priority. I think the challenge is the hospitals have so much priority. There was an article from Kaufman Hall, which is a consulting firm, and the Fitch bond rating group. His name's Kevin Halloran. So this isn't what I'm about to say isn't from me, but the hospitals are going to break even, estimated in the second half of this year. Okay. And the double whammy for hospitals, which challenges the interoperability focus, is that the site of care is shifting. People choose to do hips and knees outside in the ambulatory surgery center. Well, that was bread and butter for hospitals up until the pandemic. So that was a big service line. And then we just need to figure out inflation. Hospitals are asking payers for more. We want a 10% rate increase, and the payers aren't going to pay that.
Yep.
And so the volume's shifting, the payers shifting, inflations are shifting. So I think after this year, I would say it'll stabilize, and the CFOs will be able to start looking up and looking ahead.
Yeah.
And then they're going to start maybe prioritizing interoperability. I would also say there's already spend there in health systems, and it just needs probably to be focused. But it is a massive. I have 600 applications. They don't talk to each other. You got to figure out, what you need to talk to.
Yeah.
So it's just a massive problem.
Yep. So, as a you're part of being a CIO.
Yeah.
Right. What are some of the major challenges that you feel that you kind of see every day that you are aspiring to solve?
You're a great interviewer.
Thank you.
Anderson Cooper needs to watch out for his job with you.
Oh, wow. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this. Okay, so what? Say that again. What's the question? What am I?
Yeah, so as part of being CIO,
Yeah,
right, what are the challenges that you see day to day,
yeah.
and some of those that you aspire to solve in the coming months?
I think our staffing is generally stable. I think everyone's going to have turnover, and it puts a premium on having good relationships with your team, being focused, being able to communicate, having fun. We have a lot of fun on our team, and we invest in that. That's important.
That's nice. Yeah.
So I think staffing is stable. It'll always be tight, and then I think stabilizing the budget and the volumes. Revenue is price times volume, right?
Yeah.
That's an economic and
Yeah.
accounting theory, and that's true. And so once the prices start to stabilize here another year, um, and then the volumes start to settle, I think the economy is going to grow. We're
Yeah.
growing. There's lots of investments in renewable energies happening.
Yep.
And we'll just get through this period. That's what America does, and
Yep.
the world. India is growing.
Yep.
Now is the number one populated
Yeah.
country.
I saw this morning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
over China.
Yeah.
So I think too, and I teach Indian students
Oh, nice.
at DU. A lot of them are pharmacists,
Okay.
and I ask them why are they here, and they want to learn what we're doing, and then they want to go back home, and I encourage that. So I think as in this world now, the United States is a powerful economy, but as India matures and China moves from they call it middle income trap.
Yeah.
Um, and, that is going to be an engine in our future as a world. And whatever we can do to help those developing countries, absolutely need to do.
Awesome. Awesome. Couple of last questions from my
Mm-hmm.
end. A lot has been talked about AI,
Mm-hmm.
but AI in healthcare is a different ball game
Yeah.
altogether. And I've been hearing a new term, responsible AI.
Yeah.
So, any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I teach AI. I wrote a course on AI and digital health. And I think AI is part of the continuum of decision support. So I remember when I was at Cerner a long time ago, I met with physicians in Detroit, and they said, you mean I can get an alert if my patient is allergic to penicillin and I'm about ready to order penicillin? And I said, yes. And in computers, that's an if-then statement.
Yeah.
The most basic statement.
Yeah.
And so let's say that's on the left-hand side of the continuum. AI is just very sophisticated algorithms using massive amounts of data, but it's helping the physicians and nurses to make better decisions. And the FDA now is actually looking at, is the alert substituting the physician's judgment, or is it suggesting?
Yeah.
And so I am for AI. I ask my students, would you, if your doctor did a test that was AI supported, would you like that? And they all say yes.
Nice.
And so I think it's going to increase productivity,
Yep.
and that's good.
Yeah.
And it may shift some jobs, but it's how we are. When I was in elementary school, we couldn't use calculators, and now my daughter has
Yeah.
one, right?
Yeah.
Chat GPT. I told my students, if you use Chat GPT, you don't. First of all, the school does not allow that. But if you do, I'm holding you accountable for that output.
Yeah.
So if there's spelling errors or if it's a really poor document, I'm going to hold you accountable for that. And so it's displacement. That's progress. So
Yeah.
I am all for it.
Awesome. Awesome. Great. So, I think so far it's been fun, really great insights from your end. Thank you for sharing those. A final take, right?
Uh-huh.
So, from overall healthcare perspective, health tech perspective, right?
Mhm.
One of the key things, of course, is to help as many humans as possible.
Yes.
And so, aligning to that, right? What is HCA's purpose, and what is HCA striving to do?
Mm-hmm. HCA's mission is stated as, above all else, we care about
Amazing.
the care and improvement of human life.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty broad.
Yeah.
But it's taking care of patients in the hospital, in the clinics, in the surgery center, in buildings.
Yeah.
And now, as the payers move to rewarding physicians to keep patients out of these areas and try to reduce costs, we're addressing that as well. All health systems are. I think um, these patches, these remote patient monitoring patches, are going to be a big deal that we don't fully understand. But they'll be able to let people be assessed in the ED and discharged quicker.
Yeah.
They could go up to the hospital. They may not need to be in a full telemetry bed. They may be in a step-down telemetry bed. They may be able to be discharged at home with a patch.
Yeah.
And that's personalized care. That's a big thing. That's
Yep.
a Institute of Medicine goal. So those are all tech-driven. And I think if we can connect physicians and nurses to patients, whether they're in their building or at home, we're going to have lower cost care.
Yeah.
And that's important because we're all in the United States, we're all getting older and sicker still. So
Yeah.
that's still volume there, but we need to keep reducing costs. Otherwise, it's going to choke our economy. So
Yeah.
I think I'm very bullish.
Great, great.
Yes.
Some amazing insights, Andy. Thank you for sharing those with us, and thank you for joining us here at Healthtech with Purpose at HIMSS.
Yes.
Thank you for your time,
It
and it
was
was
my
pleasure
pleasure.
talking.
It's a great
Yes,
question.
yes. Thank you.
Thank you.